Hello. Hey, this is Jack Horak from Tango. This is my monthly Tango Trends news article in the form of an interview with a very good friend of mine who's been active in the nonprofit sector for many years, and that's Ray Gorman. So, Ray, could you please introduce yourself?
A pleasure. Hello, Jack. Good to see you. I'm Ray Gorman. I'm the President and Chief Executive Officer at Community Mental Health Affiliates.
Great. Now, people who tune into Tango understand that we are a free enterprise, pro-business thinking type of organization. And then we also teach and write often about the need for nonprofit organizations to run themselves like a business. But sometimes when people hear that, they look like they're suffering cognitive dissonance. But what it really amounts to is there's a clinical side of what you do. It's like your product. And then behind the clinical side, there's a massive enterprise. And that enterprise needs to be financed well. It needs acumen at the top that might recognize assets within the organization that could be monetized or could be developed, such as real estate, and I'm not going to go into that in detail here, other than I really would like to have you opine on what I'm saying, and in specific, perhaps talk to our listeners about what you did in New Britain, because I think it's a really cool asset acquisition that you
Sure.
did.
I'd be glad to. And let me say, Jack, that we've always enjoyed our relationship with Tango. And
Thank you.
In large measure, the learnings that we began to incorporate from Tango probably 3 or 4 years ago, and in a very perverse, disincentive sort of way, the ineptitude of the state of Connecticut to pay a
Right.
fair amount of money for the services that they contract. The confluence of those two forces is really what got CMHA to stop thinking of itself as a nonprofit charity and began to think of itself as a healthcare company. And as we started to incorporate not only those financial pressures, but those very simple, solid, standard business practices and business principles, we began to advance as an organization to where we were financially stronger. I think we were programmatically much superior to what we had been before. And that opened up the door for us, really, to begin to explore the idea of acquiring property, of generating other lines of revenue to support the organization's mission. The board of directors, myself, our managers, our staff, and our clients, we're all very committed to the mission of this organization.
Exactly.
What we had to do was change the way that we supported the mission by the way we conducted our business. And we continue to learn, but I can tell you that there isn't a decision that is made in this organization now that isn't made from a business principle and a business standard practice perspective. We don't bid on state contracts that we can't afford to run the service.
Yes.
We just won't bid on them.
Yeah, just to ask you about that for a minute, because it's always intrigued me when I've heard of nonprofits that either they don't do the cost accounting right, or they do it and they ignore it, and they take on obligations that just deteriorate their financial condition and deteriorate their ability to do the mission. I mean, it's like shooting yourself in the foot almost.
It is. And unfortunately, I think it's baked into the DNA of a nonprofit organization too often. We're supposed to do charitable work. We're supposed to be there for the community. We do that, then we find ourselves 10, 15, 20% deficits in programs that we've obligated to run. We're out running bake sales. We're doing 5K runs. There's no other business in the world that would do something like that to support its enterprise. Nonprofits do it all the time. I can tell you, one of the things that we first started to do, we started to perform to the standards of the contract. And I'll give you an example.
Please, yeah.
We had an outpatient contract with a state agency. It called for 650 clients per year to be served through that contract. Okay. We were losing tons of money in that contract. We were providing individual therapy, and we were seeing 900 patients a year. When we recalculated and calibrated what we would do, we went down to serving 640 patients a year. Contract says 600, and we began to serve most of them in IOP and group, intensive outpatient programming and group. So totally changed the fundamental financial structure of the organization. Interestingly enough, when the state contacted us and said, we heard that you're limiting admissions to your program, we said, no, we're meeting the standards of the contract.
Wow.
That was a foreign notion to them, because most organizations exceed the standards of the contract because there's so much extraordinary.
That's really interesting to me. I mean, it goes to show you, look, if you were if you had stockholders, you know, that you were answerable to, and at the end of the day, you were the manager, and you said, well, this is what we did. We took on all this extra work so we could lose more money for you. You know, I mean, you'd be down the tubes. And that is precisely the mindset, that little thing you're talking about that needs to go away in the case of social service agencies like yours. I mean, there's no question about it. And to think that, you know, we all have compassion, but even compassion needs a limiting principle. And if the state's going to tell you to do all this stuff and you don't have the money to do it, then why do it? And in your case, you were able to even do it better by holding their feet to their own contract.
Exactly. And I think that when you start to look at using those resources differently,
yep,
you begin to find that you can provide the service better than you were providing it for. Bigger isn't always better, as we know. Sometimes you can be more focused, you can provide a very targeted service, and you can get a reputation for excellence for that, versus a reputation for mediocrity because you're trying to be everything to everybody.
Right.
So I think that, you know, those are some of the principles that we've incorporated. When you talk about the real estate.
Yeah, please. I really want to. I think this is a fascinating story.
Our acquisition of the space in New Britain only came about as a result of the fundamental change that we basically undertook as an organization to work differently and to be a different kind of company. Historically, and I was part of this decision. I was integral to this decision making. CMHA used to lease space all over the state.
Yeah.
We leased the space for a couple of reasons. One was financially, we were in no shape to buy anything of much value because of some of the program decisions we had made prior. The second thing was I viewed it as a commitment by CMHA to the communities that we were in. When you lease space, as you know, you're paying the property taxes on that leased space through the landlord that you have the lease with. So it was our way of giving back to the community. Well, if you fast forward from 2006 or 7 to 2018, where we've gone 10 or 12 years without any kind of fundamental improvement in the funding from the state, just more mandates, more tasks, more challenges, more expenses, less revenue, it became obvious we couldn't do that anymore. We had to start to leverage our private nonprofit status when it comes to tax exemption, and to begin to explore the notion of buying property, not having to pay property taxes, being able to consolidate our services into fewer locations. In 2018, CMHA had leased 16 facilities in 6 different municipalities.
Okay.
At the end of 2020, we will be in 2 municipalities and we will have 4 leased spaces. Everything else we've done, we've consolidated down. We are going to continue to do telehealth in some of those remote locations that we no longer have facility space.
Okay.
Doing that freed up our enterprise to be able to consolidate our services. We found the 233 Main Street, New Britain space. It had been right in front of us for years for sale.
Yeah.
We finally got, as an organization, 2 things. The financial capability to take on a project like this. And we had built our credibility with the former administration, the Malloy administration, to show him and his people the value to New Britain, to the people we serve, and to us as an organization, for them to help us acquire this space.
Yeah, and it sounds like, you know, understandably at first, looking at the article, there was some concern about, you know, mental health patients being, you know, right in the middle of the community. But it looks like it's been you've been embraced, and all of a sudden everyone realizes you were a real enhancement to everything in downtown.
Well, yeah, I think so. I mean, and you know, in every aspect. I mean, we're buying goods and services from local merchants. We have now, since that article, we've actually added more people to our downtown site. We have about 265 employees that are on the street every day. They're buying at local restaurants. They're going to the farmers market that's held every Wednesday. We're actively involved in every kind of celebration or acknowledgement or community activity that's happening in town. We're corporate sponsors for everything from the Gay Pride Month to the fireworks
Good for
celebration.
you. That's great.
And it
Great.
continues to get us in front of people and to destigmatize. The same group that 2.5 years ago made it very, very clear they did not want us downtown. They made it very, very clear. We don't want those people downtown.
Yeah.
I guess they changed their mind enough to actually invite me to be a member of the Downtown District Board of Commissioners.
Good for
So
you.
I sit with my peers
Good.
now, and we talk about what can we do for your business, for my business, for all of New Britain downtown business to be more successful. It has done more to change the perspective that some people had about the patients that we serve than anything else we could have done. So
Yeah.
it's very exciting.
I mean, to me, that's a twofer, right? I mean, you get a building that's going to generate rental income from you. I mean, and you know, there's maintenance costs and depreciation to deal with,
Sure.
but that's built into the budgeting. You got a source of revenue, an asset that you hope will appreciate at some point, as well as everything else. And the community and all the businesses downtown that sell lunch, food, or whatever get a boost as well. And that just, I refer to that kind of, it's like a spontaneous phenomenon, right?
Yep.
That value in New Britain emerged simply because you were astute enough to do this.
Right.
And you brought better services to your clients, and you helped New Britain in the process. Like, that's what I call a home run. Good for you.
It is a home run, and on every front. I mean, yes, it's been challenging. We've never had to manage a site like this.
Right.
We've had to scramble sometimes to find contractors to help us with certain things. We've had phenomenal luck with Tunks's Property Management and Tommaso's Industries. They were our builder and our contractor here. They're great to work with. They understand our clients, and the client issue is key. This facility now, not only we use it as a recruiting tool, Jack.
I can see why.
Potential board members. We've had donors come in here. We say, here's what we're trying to accomplish. We have new board members coming on, and we use this as part of our marketing effort. Clients that come in here tell us, this feels so special to come in. This is so professional.
Wow.
Well, and it's true, because some of the places we used to be in before were not.
Right.
And so now it's not only the image that we want to convey as an organization to donors and to policymakers, but most importantly, to the people we serve. We want them to know that we value them, and this is an appropriate location. It's well lit, it's secure, it's safe. It's got a great looking elevator in the lobby. I mean, it just it says all the right things to the people we serve.
That's wonderful. Let me do this, Ray. Let me ask you, going back to the issue of, you know, the state of Connecticut and the way it treats its nonprofit providers. You know, I've been around that a lot. I mean, when they see you being successful like this, do you know what they're thinking? I mean, are they thinking good, bad, or how do they do it? Or does that mean we can pay them less? I mean, you would think you would think the state would look at you and say, boy, we should tell everyone else to do what they did. You know, because that would alleviate the burden on the state, because we'd all be better off for that. But do you think there's some room for some disputed thinking at the state about this kind of stuff?
Well, I think there is. I had one state agency senior executive come into this facility and say to me, "And you ask us for money?"
Yeah, there you go.
So now, I also think that there are, in too many situations and circumstances, people in charge of things at the state level that have no idea what we do out here. They have never had to meet a payroll.
Yep.
They have never had to shop for insurance.
Right.
They've never had to lay anybody off.
Yep.
They've never had to worry about a budget. And so they see something like this. They don't see this as the vehicle that we used to shave almost $800,000 off of our operating expenses and reinvest that in better pay for our staff and better technology. They don't see it as that. They see it as some form of opulence that means that they can pay us less than they already do now. And that's because they don't understand how these businesses work.
And that's frightening, frankly. I mean, it should frighten every taxpayer in the state of Connecticut, You know, because if you could fix the problem you're talking about, now I didn't even know how you do it, but it would be a cultural change among the providers and a bigger cultural change in the state agencies. You could probably end up with better services throughout the state and even save some tax money in the process,
Yeah.
which is what we all want to see happen. You know, good services at reasonable prices.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Ray, this has been great. I thank you so much for this. We're going to, like I said, we're going to put this in Tango Trends. We'll post this on our website. And we may be back to you because I want to hear more about your success and how you went about doing it. Maybe have you do this, be part of a special panel Tango could put on in the fall, talking about everything that you've done there and in more detail, and we could go out and specifically invite people of
Great.
interest.
I look forward to doing that. Anything. I absolutely enjoy meeting with you today and chatting with you, and it's good
Great.
seeing you.
Okay,
Hopefully soon we'll be able to do some of this face to face.
you stay safe in the meantime.
Thank you. You as well, Jack.
Yeah, bye-bye.